I can record it. Okay. So we are in Numbers 33:50. Give everybody a second to get there. And believe it or not, we may actually get through this today, get through Numbers. It's a scary thought. If we don't this week, we will next. So, okay, here we go. Then the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan, opposite Jericho, saying, "Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when you cross over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all of the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their figured stones, and destroy all their molten images, and demolish all their high places, and you shall take possession of the land and live in it, for I have given the land to you to possess it." Now, first off, pay attention to what they're telling you. So, they haven't quite crossed the Jordan yet. They've got, technically, 2.5 tribes are going to stay behind, but they're sending their fighting men to help with all this. But God's being clear. Get everybody out of the land. Don't leave anybody there. Get rid of all these people. Not just the people, not just drive out. Now, you'll notice that's the other thing. The difference here, he's saying in verse 52, then you shall drive out all of the inhabitants. So, unlike what they previously did, they went through and they just killed everybody. Remember? All the men, I don't care if you're 2 hours old, you're dead. That's the way it was. But this time, he's telling them to drive them out of the land. He's not telling them to kill them all, saying get them out, get them away. And the next part is telling them to destroy all their figured stones, destroy all their molten images, demolish all their high places. First off, what's a high place, right? That's the first thing.
Where they worship God.
Exactly. All the other things, why do they want him to destroy all the other things? All the figured stones, for example, and molten images. Well, the idea is Yahweh doesn't want you worshiping, or doesn't want, in this case, Israel, worshiping other false gods. Doesn't want anybody to be worshipped but him. That's it, just him. So he wants all those things to be destroyed. He doesn't want anybody to come in, ooh, hey, what's this? I might want to try to worship this. Well, people are crazy. I mean, let's be honest. Today, people more or less worship sports stars and musicians and all this kind of stuff. And I got to wonder what the heck's going on. So it's just one of those where today sometimes I have questions about what people are willing to do. So anyway, good morning, sir. Just a point of interest where you want to make sure that that you understand why he's having them get rid of and destroy all this stuff. And sometimes when you look at it historically, when archaeologists look at various places and excavate, what happens? They find fragments of an old civilization. They don't find the whole thing. Well, that's for a few reasons. One, and this is one example, is a lot of the stuff gets destroyed by the incoming people. I mean, that's what the Israelites are being told to do here. So that's what they're doing. They're going through and making sure that everything is destroyed that's already there. So let's pick on up here and we'll continue on. You shall inherit the land by lot according to your families. To the larger you shall give more inheritance, and to the smaller you shall give less inheritance. Whatever the lot falls to anyone, or wherever the lot falls to someone, this shall be. You shall inherit according to the tribes of your fathers. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then you shall come about that those whom you let remain of them will become as pricks in your eyes and as thorns in your side, and they will trouble you in the land in which you live, as I plan to do to them, so I will do to you. Basically saying, look, if you don't drive them out, you are going to regret it. You're going to be treated just like I'm currently telling you to treat them. They're going to come back at you with a vengeance if you don't get rid of all of them. Now, that's still true today. People, typically, if you go in somewhere, you don't want to go in as a military anyway and take over someplace and leave everybody there unless you want trouble later. I mean, happens a lot to us. We've gone in as a country. I'm sure you all can think of examples in recent history of our government or sending our military into some place. Did we drive out all the bad people? No, just the easy ones to get. How'd that work out for us? They're right back at it the second we leave, right? And this is basically where God's telling them, here's your examples, and do not do this. Get rid of everybody, or you're going to regret it. They're going to come back and end up forcing you out of the land. So Yahweh lets them know what they need to do. The question is, will they do it? And the other thing here is, again, I always like this with Yahweh in the Old Testament. He's very fair God, because when you look back at, we're looking at verse 54 there, you're seeing that he's making sure everything is fair. You're getting inheritance not by what your name is or, who thinks they're more important. How big is your family? Well, if you got a smaller family, you get a smaller lot. If you're a bigger family, you get a bigger lot. It's just being fair. That's all it is. That's one of the things I love with Yahweh's justice. It's fair. And he's being just. It's not about, don't you know what my name is? We got plenty of people in this world like that, right? Come in, I want more because don't you know who I am? No. Everybody needs to be treated the same. Everything should be fair. And that's what they're being told to do here. So just trying to make a point of that, because I think that's a big deal to understand that that's one of the huge benefits of Yahweh's. In worshiping him, he's fair with what he does for us. Okay, continuing on in chapter 34. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the sons of Israel and say to them, when you enter the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, even the land of Canaan according to its borders. So now we're going to go through and start explaining this. Now, I probably should have printed out a map. I debated doing that this morning, but I don't know how much we'd understand of what I showed you, even if I showed you the map. I love maps, by the way, but it's just one of those where understanding where everything is or was at the time, you still got to understand it's a large amount of land, but they got a lot of people. And some of this you'll get the idea of as we describe some things as they're given out. But let's go ahead and go through all this. Your southern sector shall extend from the wilderness of Zin along the side of Edom, and your southern border shall extend from the end of the salt sea eastward. Then your border shall turn direction from the south to the ascent of Akrabim and continue to Zin, and its termination shall be to the south of Kadesh Barnea, and it shall reach Hazaradah and continue to Asmon. The border shall turn direction from Asmon to the brook of Egypt, and its termination shall be at the sea. And as for the western border, you shall have the great sea, that is its coastline. This shall be your western border. And this shall be your northern border. You shall draw your borderline from the great sea to Mount Hor. You shall draw a line from Mount Hor to the Lebo Hamath, and the termination of the border shall be at Zebdad. And its border shall proceed to Ziphron, and it shall terminate. Its termination shall be at Hazar Enan. This shall be your northern border. For your eastern border, you shall also draw a line from Hazar Enan to Shepham, and the border shall go down from Shepham to Riblah on the east side of Ain. And the border shall go down and reach to the slope of the east side of the sea of Chinnereth. And the border shall go down to the Jordan, and its termination shall be at the salt sea. This shall be your land according to its borders all around. So Moses commanded the sons of Israel, saying, this is the land that you are to apportion by lot among you as a possession, which the Lord has commanded to give to the 9.5 tribes. What does it mean, portion by lot?
They sort of gamble for it.
Absolutely gambled for it. Casting lots, that's what it is. Now, we're told not to gamble to a degree, but we're also told to gamble. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, I always associate casting lots with what the guards did, to get Christ's possessions as he was on the cross. They cast lots to decide who got what.
Yeah, and they got the 12 disciples in there.
Mm-hmm. So now, as we're going back looking at this in the Old Testament, it's like it's casting lots. And we talked about this, I don't know, a few chapters back as well. And if you remember, basically what they were told is, you cast the lots, God's going to make it come out however he wants it to come out. So we're going to cast lots and let God decide. That just seems odd to me. Not that God can't control the dice. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to go to Vegas and say, okay, God's going to control this, I'm going to win. It doesn't work that way. They were just following God's rules, and this is how they did things. And the lots, basically, you had two sides. So we think more of dice. Think more of stone, two-sided stone, like a flat stone, something like you use to skip on water or something. And on one side, each side has a different symbol on it, and I've forgotten what they are right now. But point is, that's what it comes down to. And that's what the casting lots is all about. Anyway, the rest of this, like I said, was just a description of the property that they are inheriting. And it sounds huge. The way they start describing it, and they talk about the cities that people are going to get, and it's like, good grief, how many cities do you have? And you start getting an idea of, it's got to be a big place. So we'll get into that here in a minute. Okay. So Moses commanded the sons of Israel, this is the land that you are to portion by lot among you. It's your possession. The Lord has commanded to give to the 9.5 tribes. For the tribes of the son of Reuben have received theirs according to their fathers' households, and to the tribes of the sons of Gad according to their fathers' households, and the half tribe of Manasseh has received their possession. So keep in mind, those two, they have their property on the other side of the Jordan, because they had a lot of animals and it was good land for that. The 2.5 tribes have received their possessions across the Jordan, opposite Jericho, eastward towards the sunrise. My only thing with this is, I'm fine with them having it. My question is, why would you want to be on the opposite side of the Jordan if you're all working together and kind of your protection goes together? I don't know that I'd want to separate like they did. Now, I know they went through and said, hey, this looks like great land, I want it. But I think I'd go with what God initially planned and stay together. But anyway.
We always talk about God's will for us, and it doesn't seem like they were doing God's will.
No, they asked and God allowed it, but sometimes God allows things to happen to show you, you really want that? I think sometimes we're praying for things, and God says, are you sure you really want that? This is all I want. Then you get what you want. Does it end up really being what you want? A lot of times, no. Why? Because it wasn't what God wanted you to do.
Yeah, because they demanded a king like the heathen.
Yep.
And God didn't want it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't want long.
But he relented.
And it destroyed them.
Yeah. But hey, it's their own, again, that's what they asked for. Yes, you will. No, you don't want, everybody else gets a king. I want to have a king. We still got countries around this world that have kings. Most of them are for show, not for go, but they do exist where there are still monarchies where they still rule. There's plenty of that. So it still exists, and still, in my opinion, a bad idea. I mean, I don't see wanting to do that, but anyway. Okay. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, these are the names of the men who shall apportion the land to you for inheritance. Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun. You shall take one leader of every tribe to apportion the land for inheritance. These are the names of the men of the tribe of Judah. Caleb the son of Jephunneh. Of the tribe of the sons of Simeon, Samuel the son of Ammihud. Of the tribe of Benjamin, Eladad the son of Chislam. Of the tribe of the sons of Dan, a leader, Bukki the son of Joglah. Of the sons of Joseph, of the tribe of the sons of Manasseh, a leader, Haniel the son of Ephod. Of the tribe of the sons of Ephraim, a leader, Kemuel the son of Shiptan. Of the tribe of the sons of Zebulun, a leader, Elizaphan the son of Parnak. Of the tribe of the sons of Issachar, a leader, Patel, the son of Azan. Of the tribe of the sons of Asher, a leader, Ahihud, the son of Shalomi. Of the tribe of the sons of Naphtali, a leader, Pedal, the son of Ammihud. These are those whom the Lord commanded to apportion the inheritance to the sons of Israel in the land of Canaan. Now, some of these were a little bit interesting. I don't know if you noticed as you go through, but when I was paying attention to it as the first time I read it, I was like, wait a minute, something is, normally when you're reading through lists, they're all kind of addressed the same way, right? But some of these, they come through and said, a leader, like tribe of blah, blah, son of blah, blah, a leader. But not all of them are listed as a leader. So just notice that it's not all the people that were in charge and thought they were important were the ones that are going to be deciding who gets what land. Now, I don't know what was behind that, but there's got to be a story I'd love to know behind that, because why didn't all the leaders just do it? Was there some question about some of the leadership? I don't know, but this is one where God's told Moses, this is how you're going to do it, so this is how they're going to do it. Bottom line. So anyway, I found that interesting, because there's got to be more to it, but if it was really important, we'd be told. But nonetheless, point of interest. Now, the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan, opposite Jericho, saying, command the sons of Israel that they give to the Levites from the inheritance of their possession cities to live in. And you shall give to the Levites pasture lands around the cities. Now keep in mind, the Levites weren't actually inheriting something. They weren't getting their own land. Why? Well, the Levites have a different focus. The Levites are there to basically be the spiritual leaders and spiritual workers. So they weren't there to get those kind of possessions like the land. But that doesn't mean they didn't have to live somewhere, right? Now, take this as a good example, I think. So they're going to have cities, and they're going to be, I want you to listen as we go through this, these cities are going to be dispersed. So they're not all in one area. Like I said, they're not getting their own land, so it's spread out. So they have cities among the people. Why? Well, they're supposed to be the spiritual leaders, right? So do you congregate all the spiritual leaders in one place and tell everybody they get to come see you there? Or do you have it dispersed throughout the land? Gee, what do we do in this country? Let's see, if we're talking about leadership and government, which for Israel, the Levites were the government. What do we do? Oh, we do the opposite. We centralize it in one place and see how corrupt we can get it. Versus, here's the example from God, and that's why I'm trying to show what we do today versus what God shows us and gives us as an example, okay? So this isn't a political thing. This is a religious thing. This is the example God gave us of how this is supposed to work. And in this country, we do just the opposite. So listen as we listen how this is spread out, and see what you think of is God's way going to be better, or is man's way going to be better?
Good point. I just never really thought about that.
Thank you, sir. So they're giving them land or cities. So again, they're not even making them build anything. So I want to be clear about that too. The Levites are getting the cities that they're running these people out of. They're giving them the cities and saying, okay, Levites, you don't even have to build anything. Just come on in. Here's a city. Pick a place to live. And I think that's another benefit to them, because they're not having to do that. So they're being taken care of by God and by the other Israelites. The cities shall be theirs to live in, and the pasture lands shall be for their cattle and their herds and for all their beasts. The pasture lands of the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall extend from the wall of the city outward 1,000 cubits around. You shall also measure outside the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits, with the city in the center. This shall become theirs as pasture lands for the cities. Why? Because you have cities, we think of it today, and it's like, why do we have to have all that? Our cities just get bigger and bigger. What do? Expand further and further. But today, we're not worried about having a horse and buggy pulling all the food into the center of town. Today, we've got deliveries 24/7 almost, right? So today, we don't worry about that. We just let cities get huge. But think about it and take some perspective on this. You needed all that grazing land right around your city so that you could have your food source right there at the city. What do you think would happen today if, say, let's give an example in today's terms, an EMP goes off over New York and New Jersey, that area, New York City and New Jersey. What, they're going to just, I guess I'm going to have to walk the half mile or the mile down to go out and get some food right outside the walls of the city. Yeah, that's not happening. Where are you going to get your food? You aren't. Until the power comes back on and people drive in with, vehicles, unless somebody's going to, get a horse and buggy and start bringing some food in, there isn't going to be any. These are technological changes, and I'm trying to make sure we think about those things and put it in perspective, because then they didn't have that as an option. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they had the horse and buggy, but my point is, they didn't want to have to go how far with that. They wanted to have it right outside. They were still having to bring it in from the fields just outside. So, again, just put that into perspective as opposed to how things work then and how we do them today, which can be fine as long as you have technology. But the second you don't have technology anymore, you're going to wish you had this kind of a setup. Okay? It's just putting things in perspective.
There'll never be a famine in the United States.
Oh, there could be a famine in a heartbeat.
That's what I'm saying. All God has to do is have the water. The cattle die, the food won't grow.
Well, you don't even have to do that. All we have to have is an EMP over 3/4 of the country, and our country's done. All of our stuff relies on technology. Yeah, well, I mean, you think about it. All the farmers around here, what do you think? All these farmers have hundreds of acres. They're doing all their crops. So one person is handling all that. A lot of them, I mean, anybody that does much farming now knows that you can go, if you've got the money, you can go buy a nice new John Deere that all you have to do is sit in it, have all the routes programmed, and it'll go through and go across your entire field, plant, come back, reap, everything. It'll do the whole nine. All you have to do is sit there and watch it.
Only farmers around here that hundreds of acres are you and Buck.
I don't have hundreds. 100. No plurals in there. I wish. I'd go for it, but I don't have that. Someday, maybe. When you decide to leave me some of your, hundreds of acres, maybe. But yeah, that's one of those where you can do those things today, and the big farmers do. But when you put that into perspective, they had tons of people working that land, just like, for our perspective, like our grandparents did, right? And great-grandparents. That's what they had to do. It's not that long ago. This is mainly new tech. I mean, it's in the last 20 years that you could get in that John Deere, program it, and, I'm done. It's not been that long. So, again, you put things into perspective here. Yes, they do. Trust me, I make a living off of it. I'm an IT geek. So yes, why do you think I work on Windows more than anything else? More people crash them, more people make them fail. So you know what? Go where the money is, right? Of course, nowadays, I guess I should be working for John Deere since they've proprietized their stuff so you can't modify it on your own. Anyway, now we're going to talk about something interesting here. I like this one. So we're going to talk about cities of refuge. So here we go. The cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be the 6 cities of refuge, which you shall give for the manslayer to flee to. And in addition to them, you shall give 42 cities. All the cities you shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities together with their pasture lands. So, couple things here. First off, Think about that. So there are 48 cities already established, already with city walls that exist out of all this land that they took. And that's just what they're giving to the Levites. So how many cities do you think were there? I don't know, but it had to be a lot, because that kind of impressed me just with those numbers. And that also gives you an idea of how big the land is. And these were walled cities. So keep in mind, they were kicking a lot of people out, right? I mean, a lot. But there were a lot of Israelites, as we've discussed before. So, yeah, they're also being told that they'll have 6 cities of refuge. So, what's a manslayer? Let's go there first.
Murderer.
Not quite.
This one says, to which a person who has killed someone.
Yes, but that doesn't mean it has to do with intent.
Oh, okay.
Because manslayer, the idea, if you're a murderer, we're just going to take you outside and kill you. That's God's law. We're going to get into that here in a second. But if that's what happened at this time, that was the answer is, okay, if you killed somebody's brother, well, then the other brother gets to come kill you. That was basically God's law. You killed somebody, the person that wanted to claim vengeance to a degree got to go do that and got to kill you. And it was okay. That was okay. This is how it works. Now, a manslayer killed somebody, but it doesn't mean he did it intentionally. Like, you've seen people get mad. You've seen schoolyard fights. Come on. Back in the day, you see schoolyard fights, and it's not common, I know, nowadays, but it was when I was growing up. I figure you two fought a few times. So the point is, if you just got mad at somebody, like, I've had enough of this, pick up that rock, throw it, hit him, and, oh, crud, I just killed him. Well, then that becomes an issue, and now, yes, you're now a murderer. But it goes to the intent. Is that what you were trying to do? Or was that an accident? And all you wanted to do is get this guy to quit hitting you or beating on you or whatever it was. So you have to put it into perspective. And so that's what they're talking about here. There's a difference between intent and accidental. So these days we call it manslaughter versus murder a lot of times, because we consider one not intentional. But here they have cities. Now, it isn't for this person. This person has to still be judged by the congregation. Or by Israel. But we'll go into that here in just a second. But I'm just trying to make sure you understand what a manslayer is. This is somebody that did kill somebody, but the question is, was it murder or was it accidental? Intentional or accidental? Now, if it's we'll go and read through it first. I'm probably jumping too far ahead here. Getting into this, because it's an interesting concept versus the way we do things today.
Manslayer, it makes it sound like they go out just to kill somebody.
Yeah, correct.
They're manslayer. But, only the person and God knows what they had in their heart.
True,
They
but
meant to kill them, and I didn't mean to.
yeah, but there are examples. So we'll get into that here too. So, as for the cities which you shall give from the possession of the sons of Israel, you shall take more from the larger and shall take less from the smaller. Each shall give some of his cities to the Levites in proportion to his possessions which he inherits. So in other words, it's again Yahweh being fair. So that if, because each of the tribes weren't all the same size. And we've had them numbered. We've counted and talked about that. So we know that they're not all the same. So the reality is he's doing it in proportion. So he's not saying, okay, 12 tribes, we'll divide up and say, 58 cities, whatever it was there. Okay, great. So we're going to divide that by 12, and that's how many everybody's got to give up. No. That wouldn't necessarily be fair, because all the tribes aren't the same size and didn't have the same amount of land that they inherited. So Yahweh's making it fair and saying, no, you're going to break it up in proportion to his possessions, which he inherits. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan in the land of Canaan, then You shall select for yourselves cities to be your cities of refuge, that the manslayer has killed any person unintentionally may flee there. The city shall be to you as a refuge from the avenger, so that the manslayer will not die until he stands before the congregation for trial. So a few things out of this. So you're knowing what a manslayer is now, and secondly, knowing that there's an avenger. Who's the avenger? Who was, if somebody killed your brother, you would probably be the avenger if you're the male. That's typically the way it worked. It wasn't for the women, typically. But whoever's family was wrong, someone from that family would have the ability to go after them and kill them. It gets even stranger, which, again, I'm looking at God's view of justice here and thinking in terms of what's God's view and what do we do today? Which one's better? We'll discuss. But we have some caveats in this because keep in mind, you're in the Old Testament. So some things are allowed that are not allowed now. So let's be clear about that. And also notice to say the manslayer will not die until he stands before the congregation for trial. So he still had a trial. It wasn't one person making the decisions. It wasn't one person standing in judgment. It was a group. It was a people. It wasn't just a judge, notice, which so many times today everything's decided by a judge, not always a jury. Well, they have a trial with the congregation. The cities which you are to give shall be your 6 cities of refuge. You shall give 3 cities across the Jordan and 3 cities in the land of Canaan that are to be cities of refuge. Does anybody see that as being disproportionate? You got 2.5 tribes on one side of the Jordan, and you got 3 sanctuary cities, basically. Oh, did I say sanctuary cities? I'm so sorry. Cities of refuge. Was that a slip? I don't know. You decide, congregation. So, and then you only have 3 on the other side of the Jordan with the remaining tribes. So 9.5 tribes only get 3. I'm going to assume God knew what he was doing, and those other 2.5 tribes were a little rowdy bunch. That's my guess. Just taking a wild guess. Why? God knows everything, and he's just laid it out this way. So, I don't know. These 6 cities shall be for refuge from the sons of Israel and for the alien and for the sojourner among them, that anyone who kills a person unintentionally may flee there. But if he struck him down with an iron object so that he died, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. If he struck him down with a stone in the hand by which he will die, and as a result he died, he is a murderer, and the murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he struck him with a wooden object in the hand by which he might die, and as a result he died, he is a murderer, and the murderer shall be put to death. The blood avenger himself shall put the murderer to death. He shall put him to death when he meets him. Now, I want to be clear on that part, because I think that's of interest. It's not the state, it's not the government putting this person to death. God's laid out who's a murderer. If you used a weapon that you know was likely to kill this guy, and you killed him, you're a murderer. If you used something that you didn't think was going to kill him, and it killed him, well, the implication is you're probably not a murderer then. You're a manslayer, but you're not a murderer. There's a difference. But it's also interesting here because it's not this random. This is where I'm saying it's not a government doing it. It's not a random person doing it. Today, we put somebody to death. What happens? Well, most of the time, there are a couple of different ways we do it in this country. But regardless of the method, the end result is usually the same. Whether we're shooting them, which that actually does still happen. Somebody selected that recently, as I recall reading in the news. But when they do that, or when you pull the switch to electrocute somebody, usually it's not one person that does it. is an example with a firing squad type thing. Like I said, somebody chose recently. You might have 5 people there. They're all going to pull a trigger, but only one of them has a live round. That way, they don't know who did it. The whole idea is to keep you blameless, and you didn't kill anybody, or you didn't know if you did it or didn't. If you pull the switch on for the electric chair, might be 3 switches and 3 of you pulling the switches. The idea being you don't know who killed him. Well, the way God has it, no. If you want justice, if you want to go kill this man, you do it yourself. If you want to kill him, you can do it. We'll allow it. He's wronged you. He's a murderer. You can go kill him. But you have to do it. I just think it's a stark difference. I'm not saying right or wrong, other than the fact that New Testament's a little bit different on some things with Christ's rule, so that changes some things. But I just want to be clear on how things worked here, because this is what we're focusing on today. So basically, if it was intentional, in other words, he used something he knew would kill him, so be it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can grab a small rock and throw it from 30 feet away, and I would think if I threw a rock from here to Terry, I'm probably not going to kill him because I don't have that kind of strength to throw a rock hard enough to hit him. If it happened to hit just right and he died, I'm a manslayer, but I didn't do it intentionally. I didn't think I could throw that far, to tell you the truth, let alone kill a man. So I'm just trying to put it in perspective here. Again, just trying to make sure we're all on the same page here. Kind of get what we're aiming for. Get what you're aiming for? Get it? Okay. So the blood avenger himself shall put the murderer to death. He shall put him to death when he meets him. Remember that for a moment here. If he pushed him of hatred or threw something at him lying in wait, and as a result he died, or if he struck him down with his hand in enmity, and as a result he died, the one who struck him shall surely be put to death. He is a murderer. The blood avenger shall put the murderer to death when he meets him. But if he pushed him suddenly without enmity, or threw something at him without lying in wait, or without any deadly object of stone, and without seeing it dropped on him, so that he died, when he was not his enemy, not seeking his injury, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the blood avenger according to these ordinances. The congregation shall deliver the manslayer from the hand of the blood avenger, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of refuge to which he fled, and he shall live in it until the death of the high priest who is appointed with the holy oil. But, this is a caveat, and we'll go through and explain all this in a minute, because some of this gets a little wild. But if the manslayer at any time goes beyond the border of his city of refuge to which he may flee, and the blood avenger finds him outside the border of his city of refuge, and the blood avenger kills the manslayer, he will not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in his city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the manslayer shall return to the land of his possession. So basically what we're saying is that you can get away with accidentally killing somebody if you go live in the sanctuary city. But boy, you better not get a job working in the fields outside that sanctuary city. If you go outside that walled city, it's over. If you're caught by the blood avenger, he can kill you, and that's okay. He's not a murderer because he had the right to kill you, and you had the right to live as long as you stayed in the walled city. As soon as you left the walled city, it's all over with. And that's the caveat. That's what they need. What person put there has to understand. So basically what's happening, so you've got somebody that accidentally kills somebody. They go before the congregation of Israel. I don't know how big the congregation, but some portion of them goes before Israel and has to explain what happened. Israel then gets to judge, say, it really does sound like what happened was an accident. You didn't do it intentionally. If that's the decision, that it's an accident, then basically the court, if you will, the congregation, they send you to the sanctuary city of your choice, and you better stay there until the high priest dies. And then things change and you're free. But until that high priest dies or you die, you better stay inside the walls. If you don't, and the blood avenger catches you, he can kill you. Now, again, trying to do a reference back to how things work today. So today, one of the reasons, and a lot of people don't seem to understand this, one of the reasons that we put people in jail is not necessarily to punish them, but to keep them from being killed by the people that they wronged, the family that they wronged. It's not just about punishing them. It's about keeping, because if they don't put them in jail, a lot of times somebody else is going to come along and kill them. Why? Because that's the way it works. That's the way it worked for thousands of years. We're reading it right now. That's the way this stuff happened. So I want to make sure we understand one of the reasons that we put people in jail today is not just as a punishment for them, but it's also a protection to a degree. I'm not saying they're not going to have other issues when they're in jail with other people in the prison. That's not my problem. I'm just trying to tell you why things are done so we can have reference points here, okay? I always think that's an important thing to do. Does everybody understand why, in this case, who the manslayer is, who the blood avenger is, and okay, I just want to make sure that. Yes, ma'am.
I got a question.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, on the avenger.
Yeah.
Who signifies the avenger specifically? Because, usually you think it might be a family member, but if, say, in my father's family, somebody killed him, there were 7 more
Right.
kids.
My assumption would be that between those 7 that were left, they would choose one of them.
Okay.
It would be a family choice, right? Yeah, it would basically be a family choice. Now, whether they did that just by talking to each other and going, oh, we know it's going to be you because you're the one to do this, or whether it's which one of us is going to do this, or 2 of them want to do it, they'd probably cast lots and then do it that way because that's supposed to show the will of God is what they believe. So that's the rationale behind that. Okay, so let's go ahead here. These things shall be for a statutory ordinance to you throughout your generations and in all your dwellings. If anyone kills a person, the murderer shall be put to death at the evidence of witnesses, but no person shall be put to death on the testimony of one witness. Now, again, another example today, sometimes we do put people to death or in jail, however you want to look at it, both things, on the one person's eyewitness. But God's clear. You need multiple people to prove this, especially when you're talking about ending someone's life. Moreover, you shall not take ransom for the life of the murderer who is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death. In other words, you're not going to take money and let this guy get off. That's just not allowed. I mean, today we kind of think of it more, I guess, as how much money do you have? The more money you have, the better lawyer you have, the better chance you have of getting off. Has nothing to do with justice, has to do with money. So just trying to put that in perspective, okay? You shall not take ransom for him who fled his city of refuge, that he may return to live in the land before the death of the priest. So don't let them out early. Don't care what they pay you. You shall not pollute the land in which you are, for blood pollutes the land, and no expiation can be made for the land for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. Blood for blood, but that's Old Testament, remember? You shall not defile the land in which you live, in the midst of which I dwell. For I am the Lord, and dwelling in the midst of the sons of Israel. It's making a point of he is dwelling in the land with them. They are not to defile that land. The only way to resolve a murder is kill the person that committed murder, because we're not putting up with that. That was the answer. In this country and today, we put up with it indefinitely. We'll put somebody on death row. They'll die on death row. Natural causes. Anyway, let's not get started on that. Sorry, frustration point. Okay, so we're going to end here. We will pick up on 36, verse 1 next week. And let's go ahead and close in prayer. Hang on, I've got to stop the recording here.